Hello, everyone. So we'll start nearly in a half an hour. So that's just a sound check, the check of this platform. So see you in half an hour. Please wait for that. Until that, you can take a cup of coffee and so on. So see you a little bit later.
นิ้วมีได้ยินยัง
Hello
talking
เขากินทำไมอย่างนี้เราไม่อยากคุยกับเขา
คุณไม่ได้ยินเสียงใช่ไหม
Once again, hello everyone. Please let me know in the chat section if you can see and hear me. Nice. So we will start nearly in 5 minutes. Yeah, hello. Yeah, about 5 minutes, and today we will discuss some automation. So how to create automatic tasks, schedule tasks, and so on. I will show you how all these notifications will look like. We'll take a brief look on the mobile application for Android. And also we will discuss the calculator, how it's better to work with it, some tips, and so on. So you can take a cup of coffee or something like that, because, as I said, we'll start nearly in 5 minutes. During the webinar, I will be checking the chat section, so you can feel free to give your immediate feedback about the connection, about the questions if you have them, and so on. So I'll be here, maybe just mute the microphone, but we'll start in 3-5 minutes about that. So I'm back here. The time to start, I think. So I think that we can wait just for maybe 1-2 minutes and start. Right now, this demo, of course, as the previous, will be with the screen sharing. So we don't have a presentation because they are boring, I think. So yeah, I think everyone is here, so let's start. Please let me know if you see the screen. Nice. Yeah, so I have a chat section so I can see your questions. So today we are going to work mainly with the configurator because most of the automations are done here and for other systems. So most of the tasks that can be done with the automation, they are for the working with other systems, with other applications, and so on. So first of all, how we can work with these automations. So we need to go to the configurator and select the automation section. Here we can create some tasks for a group of cameras and some of them for specifically for each camera. So let's start, for example, with the scheduled tasks. To do that, we select one of the cameras. Here we have three options: scheduled tasks, tasks by events, integration. Right now, I already created a scheduled task. To make an example, let's create a new one. To do that, I click here, add a task, type a name. So let me, yeah, I see that more participants are coming. So let's create a task name. Let's just example. Then we can add some description if we need that. For example, if you have a huge system with several administrators, so you can put there some description to create some kind of a comment between the programmers, so another administrator can understand it. Here we can create the repeat mode, for example, by week. So in Monday, this task will be repeat in Monday in 9 a.m. So every day at this time, this action will be repeated. Then next, and here we can add action. You can see here that there are lots of actions like just turn on recording. So if we used the manual mode, here we can select the scheduled task to start the recording, disable it, set camera position. Of course, that's for the PTZ cameras. So we can create a patrol mode for it. Then set camera position, send notification. So that will be not an automated, but a scheduled notification that will be sent. And the most interesting option, for my opinion, is report by email. This option is available for three modules like people counting module, license plate recognition module, and facial recognition module. So here we can set the recipient for this report. Configure who will receive it. And here we can select the report format like table or CSV file. So it will be just attached. So in this way, we can select these scheduled tasks. And now let's take a look how this report will look like. So as I said before, you can write your questions in the question section. So that's my mailbox. We have here some automatic notifications and also reports. So one of them is the report for the license plate recognition. Let's open it. So we can see here report for 1 day from this time to this. And here I attached the table. So let's open it. Of course, we can also download it. And here for the license plate recognition module, we see the number of license plates that were recognized. So that's actually a counting module. So we see the total number of the plates. We can see the date, time, the license plate, and also if some additional info was added, like name of the driver, group, the direction, that will be available here. So once again, the advantage of that you don't need to work with the Eocortex system on everyday basis. You can just configure some automatic actions, and for some people, you will just receive these notifications or reports, and you won't need to work with it every day and create new reports. So let's take a look on another reports like facial recognition report. Oh, no, sorry, that's not a facial recognition report. That's a notification. So I configured a notification if a specific group, someone from specific group will be recognized. So we see the text, alarm, date, time, name of the camera, and also a snapshot from the camera. So we can see his face and also face from the database. So we understand that's Jan, and the accuracy of the identification is 99%. The first question is here, can notifications be sent to more than one recipient? Yes, you can configure several tasks to send the notification to different recipients, but the runtime condition are the same. Or you can just put several email addresses in the same box, so it will be sent to several people. Next, can we automate the recording with various FPS values at different times or during alarms with 25 FPS or normal 15 and so on? The answer for this question is that we can work with two camera streams right now. So you can configure different FPS and, for example, different resolution for the camera. So we can configure, for example, always on recording mode for the camera. Let me show you how it looks, and change the streaming, the stream if the motion was detected. So we enable the alternate stream, then go to archive, select here always on, alternate stream, allow to set to mainstream, and then we go to automation. For that, you need to configure the task by event. So for example, you select the task by event, you add task on system event. Here we select the system event. Yeah, I think that was a problem with the RDP. So let's try once again. Yes. For example, motion. If the motion detected, then we set an action, not turn on the recording, but set mainstream for archiving. So in this case, we set the runtime condition, for example, zone when the motion will be detected. So for example, you can specify the zone for that. And here we can set the action. So for example, the stream will be changed for 30 seconds. We can set the timeout between these actions. For example, if there is several events with the movement, we can set the timeout between these events to start the recording of the mainstream. And also here we can set the cameras for that action. For example, we have a one overview camera with the motion detection. And if the motion was detected on that camera, we will start the recording and change the stream for the recording for several cameras. So here we just selectively select several cameras. And for that cameras, this action will be done. Yeah, you're welcome. Can we automate schedule the video export from here? Unfortunately, as we discussed it, I think during the first webinar, so export of the video, that's a user action. So that's being done with the client application. So that's why right here, no, we don't have, because we can't do that, because earlier we haven't faced any demands on that. So if you need that, we can create a special development for you, and if that will be required in another also projects, then we will add it to the release. But right now we haven't received such requests. So yeah, let's get back and discuss other reports. So I think, yes, for example, people counting report. So here we can see the report for the people counting module. So once again, their report for 1 day from this time to this, total number of visitors, out total. So for example, if in this moment, people are leaving the site, so that's why the number of them can be different. And here we can see the number of visitors for each hour. So right here, no one was moving in each direction. And here we can see that the number of visitors is changing. Can you explain about personal monitor analytic module? Yes, sure. We haven't discussed this module before, but yeah, let's do it at the end of the webinar. So after we discuss the automation, we will get back to that module because it wasn't really discussed. Yeah, thanks for reminding that. So that was the people counting report, and also, yes, here is the report for the facial recognition. That's also with the CSV file. It's not really readable. Let's open it in Google Sheets. Another question, when we use motion on camera to set another contact from several cameras, we cannot give the task different names. It always shows the same name from the action. So if we create a scheduled task, then we set the name for this task. If we're using the task by event, then in this case, it has the same name. Yes, you're right here. So it has this algorithm that you configure the event. So it will be the same. Yes, it's by events. So this is the difference. You can configure your name only for the scheduled tasks. And here, as you can see, we can see the info about the facial recognition. So if the face is in the database, it's not really readable in the Google Sheets. I think it's better to watch it in another viewer, but still, it's more interesting to take a look when we are recognizing someone who is in the database. So for example, we can see the date, time, the name of the group, and also name of this person. So that's Dan Smith from whitelist. Also, when we are creating this task, we can specify to put in this report only that people that are from the database, and not the and not all the people. So because that's not really important to see the facial detection event without any info about him. But still, here is the opportunity to have this report for the facial recognition. Then let's go forward to another option. So tasks by events. I have already created some tasks for that. Let's take a look on them. For example, license plate recognition. Here we select the camera, task by event. And here we can see that here are tasks on system events. We can select one of these predefined runtime conditions or create a new one. So for example, I don't need to create a new one. I want to select already existing recognized license plate. So I click on it. And in the right, we can see that I have already set one of these notifications, so push notification. We can edit it by using this pencil. Here, I select the runtime condition to send notification only if this specific license plate will be recognized. So you can see here that we can set when just the license plate was detected. So that was the license plate, but we haven't specified which one. Here, I configured license plate contains these symbols like 148. Then surname, name. So if we put the license plate in the database, we can get notifications with the exact name and surname. I have a question: how we will get mobile software for test? Actually, mobile application can be tested without a server because by default it has an access to the demo stand. So you can just open the Play Market or App Store, download the Eocortex application, start the tests with the demo stand, and then you can also set your server, Eocortex server, and connect to it with the mobile application. A little bit later, I will show you the mobile application during this webinar. So about the runtime conditions, here we can set the name, also brand of the vehicle, group of the vehicle, and so on. So for example, for the access control system, we can do this way. For example, we add a new action and select send signal to camera output. In this case, we set the runtime condition, for example, group name, whitelist, and action send signal to the camera output number, let's say 2, and the value is 1. You can see that right now we have 2 actions. They will be run both. So this one first and then this one. You can set the algorithms, small algorithms for the system. For example, first, this signal will be sent to unlock the gate. Then we put pause, for example, for 20 seconds to let the car get in, and then another action, send signal to camera output. And here we just deactivate. So we first, let's do this way. We unlock the door, the gate, then we notify the person by sending the push notification. Then we wait when the vehicle will get in, and then we close the door again. So you can create some kind of scenarios and several actions for each runtime condition. Next question is how I use a face analytics database for many different servers. That's possible. We have already discussed that, but yeah, why not? Let's discuss it once again. So we select a camera. For example, if you set about the facial recognition, let's select this one. Analytics, facial recognition module, and here database. So we can select the remote one if we have a system of servers, multi-server configuration. So we set a main server for that. So that will be his IP address and other servers. So for this server, we will use the local database. For other servers, remote one, and they will be connecting this server, and the database will be synchronizing. So you can manage the database for all the servers at the same time. Next question, talking the LPR action scenario, is the way to provide a shunt time to camera output barrier to remain unlocked for a particular time. So as I said, right here, it can be done as a timeout between the actions. So we take a pause, unlock the gate, pause, and then lock it again. Or if you need, you can just create another action, absolutely another. For example, if another vehicle was detected, for example, we have two cameras. One is focused on the entrance, another on the exit. If the exit detected the same license plate, for example, this is the same vehicle, it has already entered, then send signal and lock the gate. So that's also possible. Another question, I mean, I can build a face database through Oracle database or SQL database. We are working with the Firebird database, so that's used in this action. And if we're speaking about the managing the database from the external system, it can be done, but only for Ultra via REST API. So that's possible. We have translated the documentation for that, so you can use it to control the database, add new people to the database, and so on by using the REST API commands. So that's it about the tasks by events for the license plate recognition. Yes, now let's take also a look for the notification that we discussed in the email. So I configured a notification for the facial recognition module once again, so we can receive a snapshot, some info like alarm, and alarm, and info about this person. So that's Jan and so on. Now let's discuss other ways of the working with the notifications. So first of all, let's discuss the mobile application. So that's the emulation of the Android device. So yeah, let's see that we have a notification. So that's the list of events in the Android system. Let's select this one, events from the application. And when we click on it, we go to that specific camera when this license plate was detected. Yes, then let's take a look on this application. So here we have the list of cameras. We can select another system, so you can configure different systems in one application and select to which of them you will connect this time. So for example, here, let's take a look on the demo stand. So when you just install this application, you will have access to this demo stand. So here we have several cameras. We can move them across this screen. If we double click on one of these cameras, we go to the full screen. Let's take a look on the landscape mode. Yes, it's rotated. Here you can take a snapshot from this camera. and also go to the archive. Another good question, for access control action, if you have paused for 20 seconds and then close the door, what is another car comes in this time? That's a really good question, because previously we were not recommending to set the combination of actions like open the gate, wait for a while, then close it. Because yeah, we can imagine that there can be some moments when another camera is driving in and it can accidentally hit this car. So in this case, for the facial recognition, when we, for example, unlock the door, it's okay to unlock it and then lock the magnetic close the magnetic lock on the door. That's okay. For the license plate recognition, it's better to use the same on the gate itself. So if it has a sensor or a timer that can be configured, it's better to close it on his side. Then, as for the application, so you can see here that we have the timeline with the recordings. So right now it's recording by the motion detection, so we can see some gaps. You can watch the videos right here, pause, and take a snapshot. Let's get back to the grid of cameras. So also here we can select another system. So that was the demo stand. Now we enabled another system like this one. We can click here and enable one of the cameras and start watching them. And here we can also select another views. So these views are available from the system. So if you configure the same view on the server, they will be available also here. And another interesting option is notifications. So all the notifications that are received from the server, if you remember, I configured the notification if the plate 148 is detected. So we can see these events. We can see the time and date. And if we click on it, we can go to real-time video from this camera or to archive. Let's go to archive. And if we take a pause, we can see that here is the that license plate. So it was detected by the camera. So here is the 148, but the plate is a little dirty. But still, we see that this vehicle was detected. That's the blue Golf. So we can see that. Then let's rotate the phone and go to messengers. So in messengers, I configured also another notification to receive them only if someone with name Dan will be recognized. So in this case, we see the frame from the camera. So when the Dan was detected, also we see the photo from the database. So his face was added there with this photo. So the recipient can understand, okay, the system is correct. This is the same person. I have checked that by myself. and also the info, so the name of the system, system 13, camera faces, the name of this person from the database, Dan Smith, the accuracy, and also the text message that I have already configured. So Dan is here. Yeah, I have a question. So when we have a multi-server configuration on several sites and with each their own cameras, I want to create views, but when I create a new view, I have to deactivate the view for all my other users. If I want a view for only one site, that is not possible for the views, but it's possible for the cameras. Can that be adjusted? I think that I just received that request, and I think that we will discuss that as a development for the project. And as far as I can understand, this is a common question, so that will be also discussed with the product manager. So I think that it will be added in the release also. So that will be an option. For example, you created a new view, and you can set the users that will be able to work with it. Next question is, have you considered sending messages to WhatsApp? That's a tricky thing, because WhatsApp Messenger, it's against the using of the chatbots. So that's the problem for us to integrate. We will be happy to integrate it, but unfortunately, WhatsApp is against using the chatbots. That's why we integrated the messengers that can work with the chatbots, like Telegram, Viber, Facebook. So that's why we created the chatbot to work with these messengers. So yeah, let's take a look on another options that we have with this messenger. So I showed you how we can receive the notification from the system, but also we can send some commands to the system. So by clicking favorites, here we can ask for a snapshot, for example, from one of the cameras. So let's ask for the snapshot from LPR camera. So we see the snapshot from this camera with the time and date. Also, we can, once again, open favorites, main menu. We can see that we're still receiving the notifications. Here we can select one of the options like camera, system, technical report, and setting help. So help. Here we have an instruction how to use the chatbot. Then we can select systems, and here we can see the list of systems that were connected already to this chatbot. So you can receive the notifications from different systems at the same time, and also you can control different systems by selecting one of them from this menu. So let's ask for a technical report. So here, system status, stable connection with all the servers. Let me let into a new participant. Yeah, so stable connection with all the servers. All cameras on available servers operate normally. Video archive depth for these two servers demonstrate 9 days. For test server, approximately, let's say, 3 days. So we can see it. And also, let's ask for a snapshot from another camera. So counting. Yeah, we also receive this. So by using the mobile application, the disadvantage of this option, because is that you need to have the available IP address or the URL of your server. So that means that you need to have a static IP address, or you need to have a DNS function and so on. For messengers, you don't need to have that. All your messengers will be encrypted, but they will be sent via global network. So you can work with your system via messengers without having a static IP address. Yes, so that's it. If you have any questions about the mobile client and the messenger, please let me know in the chat section. And right now we will go forward and discuss the monitoring function. I have a new question. Does the chatbot work with the Slack? Can you give me some details about what Slack is? Right now it's working only with these two messengers, that I mentioned before. So it's not working with our corporate messaging apps. So we can discuss the development for some projects if you have that requirements, but right now, no, it was developed more in common for these three messengers and so on. Yeah, thanks for the info. So I have already received a message with the link for the Slack and also some info about the API. But right now, unfortunately, no, we don't work with it. Yeah, so as I said, right now, let's take a look on the monitoring function. So that's the web interface of this dashboard. So here we see the list of your servers. So once again, it's available only for, can you hear me well right now? I hear some problems with the sound. So now it's fixed. Another question, chatbots come automatically configured or done manually? Some can be anxious about confidentially and do not want to use them. So the chatbot is already developed, so you don't need, and actually you can't change something about them. So as I said, all the messages in the chatbot are encrypted, so you can't lose the snapshot from your camera and so on. But still, I think the best way is to do some tests with the chat bot, because it's available for free. And during the Eocortex tests, you can take a look on this messenger and work with it. Yeah, now let's focus on the monitoring function. Here, as I said, we have a list of servers with their status. So now both of them are okay. We can see the name, addresses, the number of cameras, the CPU load, and also the event log. So we can see the events also from here, from the dashboard. Then, if we click on one of these servers, we can see the info about it. So the, once again, name, the load on the CPU, memory, archiving, writing, and so on. Here we can see the graph of the CPU load, also the load on the total CPU, and also from Eocortex. The same for memory, cameras. So we have the list of cameras and their statuses. Then clients, we can see how many clients are connected right now. So we can monitor that, and from what IP addresses are they connecting. And also the status of the network adapter, it's available right here. Then let's take a look on the settings for the monitoring, because we can not just watch the monitoring opportunity, we can also configure the notifications. So to do that, we go to servers, general settings, monitoring. Here we enable it, set the address. We can also set the password for that, test the connection. So it's okay right now. Interval between the data being sent, set the servers that will be monitored by these services. Here we set up email notifications. So we select the mailbox. Email of the sender can be changed. Email of the recipient, and also here we can select the language and the notification types. So no connection with the server, audio, video, stream processing problems, and other server problems. The installation package for the monitoring, it will be available with the server package. There will be additional options, so install monitoring, and as I said, it's available only for Ultra. Another question is there any possibility to display all these notifications in a part of our video wall? There is an option, but it's not in the client itself, because on the video wall, it's better to have just a spare monitor where you can open the client with the event journal or with the web browser with the monitoring dashboard. So that's the way how you can do it. So it's done more for the flexibility, so you can use it from every browser. So that's why it's not done with the client application, but it can be opened separately. So you just use one of the monitors to open the browser and watch the dashboard for the monitoring. Yes, this is how the monitoring looks. We have already discussed the mobile application and messenger. About the automation, so we discussed the scheduled tasks, some tasks by events, and also we can do some integrations. So here, if we select this option, we can enable some integrations like Honeywell Pro Watch. So here we open settings, and we can put here the IP address of the Honeywell Pro Watch server. So use the port that is already configured there. So we can put it here, the credentials for the connection. So the Eocortex will be like one of the clients or users of the Honeywell system. So we put here the credentials, and after we will be connected in the device, you will see the list of available devices in Honeywell. You will be able to receive notifications from that system, aggregate them in Eocortex, and also send some notifications or do some actions in Honeywell. So send commands from Eocortex to Honeywell. Also, from Eocortex version 3.0, we can work with the HTTP requests with automation. So here we can add also task by events, and when we add it, like if face was detected, then we can send HTTP request. So in this case, we can once again set the limit by time. So create the schedule. We can set the timeout between the sendings. Here we can select the special settings like type of the request, like GET request. Here we put the request itself and can test it. Also, if we need, we can use the basic authorization right here. So we can put it, select another type of the request. So if that's a post request, we can also put the request body here, select the type of the body, so text, JSON or XML, and also put and delete are available here. So you can enable and select what do you need also here. Next question, what kind of module you use to give some context to an external devices? For example, when there is a cross-line detection and we will activate the alarm trail. So for that, we can use the alarm output on the cameras, or we can use some devices that are focused just on these output ports, so I/O ports, like Adam or other devices that have these options. So you can see the list of integrated devices on our website, and also as we are working with OnViv, so some devices can be just connected with OnViv. It also allows to control the alarm input and output ports. But the Adam modules that are in the list are old modules. Yes, usually we integrate new devices by request. So if you have a project where you need to use this specific device, we integrate this specific device. So if you, during the next installation, you will need another device, we can integrate it for you. So this is how we usually work. You have a request, we just integrate it for you. So yeah, I think right now that's it. Let's go forward. Also, user tasks. So right now we can do some user tasks and run them from the client application or from the mobile application. So here you can add user task, add a task name like, for example, test action. You can create a confirmation of this action and select what do you need to do. For example, send signal to the camera output. We apply. So there is no runtime condition for this action because you just manually run this action, and you can do it from the client application, or after you configure this option, it will be available on the mobile application as well. So for example, you click a button and the signal will be sent to the camera output, for example, to unlock the gate or the door and so on. Or you can send a push notification or something like that from the mobile or desktop client. So if you need to notify other operators, you just click on the button and the signal will be sent. So you can enable it here. The action is configured here, and you can give it a name so you can understand what this action will do, like alarm port, sorry. Yeah, so you can configure several tasks and run them from the application, desktop application or mobile app. Yeah, hello. We see that you're a little late. Anyway, the recording will be sent to you so you can watch it afterwards. And right now, I think we discussed everything that I wanted to show you about the configuration. Right now, let's take a look on the configurator, on the calculator. What are some points how to calculate the load on the server and so on. So let's open the browser and open the Eocortex website. So here to open the calculator, another question, can we place on the plan also a button that activates the task you just made? Right now, there is no such option. So right now, when you enable the button on the plan, it's it just triggers the output of the camera, of the specified camera. But as I said, this button, it's available on the client application. So plans are available in the client application, but in this case, this button will be available just in the client application in the cell of this camera. So for example, let me show you, like, let's select one of the cameras, like LPR. Yeah, it has alarm outputs. So let's select tasks by events, test action, output. So yeah, we have this action. Let's apply. Okay, we configure that. So after the server will be restarted, we'll take a look on this button. And right now, while it's restarting, let's take a look on the calculator. So to open it, we open the eocortex.com website, then we go to support and select CCTV system calculator. Let's discuss how it works. So first of all, here we have several options for the calculation, like server, standalone, and client. So I think you already know that the standalone is the most powerful option because it combines the server and the client. Let's start with the server calculation. So here we select the recording size. So for example, the number of days 30, the recording mode is 24 hours per day. And here, if we need to calculate several group of cameras with the different analytics, we can do it very easily. So for example, if we want, we have 10 cameras with 4 megapixel with the motion detection on the alternate stream. So here we select how many streams does this camera have, so 1 or 2. Then what stream will be used for modules. So for some modules like tracking, you can use the alternate stream. For some modules like license plate recognition, facial recognition, you are using the main stream. So here we enable this stream for analysis. Then another option for the large systems and also for the storage, it's more efficient to use H.265. But H.265 right now, it's not so effective for the analysis. So for example, for these cameras, we want to use the storage in the most effective way. So we use H.265 for the mainstream And also for the alternate stream, we use H.264 for the analysis. Then, for example, we need another group of cameras, like 2 cameras with the 2 megapixel resolution, analysis with the mainstream, and we want to use the facial recognition complete. Okay, next, another camera. For example, we want to use suspect search. Let's use two channels with it, and for this module we need to have a higher resolution, about 1 megapixel, but this camera, for example, is an 3 megapixel camera. So for that option, one of the ways is to use the 1 megapixel stream for the alternate stream and set the suspect search for the alternate stream. So then we click calculate. We see that this configuration will require 1 machine with 14 cameras. So we can see here the info about the whole system right here. So like total RAM and so on. And here is the recommendation for this server with the CPU, RAM, and also GPU. Then, if you see that this system suggests you the Core i5 processor, and you don't have it, so for example, you have already another server like i7, but the old model, and you want to compare the power of this CPU with that one, that's also possible. So you just can use the CPU benchmark to see the performance ID of these 2 servers and compare them to understand if it's okay for your system. Another question, how can we calculate if there are different values for the archive days? For example, 100 cameras with 30 days recording, 100 with 60 days recording. Is memory size recommended here only for Eocortex use? Shall we think more as for the operation system need? So here says H gigas, maybe we'd better use 10 and so on. Good question, thanks for that. So first of all, let me also say that here we have 2 recommendations. So first one is with the core processors, and also for the servers we have a second way is the Xeon processor. So you can have this calculation here. Next, according to your question, this calculation of the storage and the RAM is also for the Windows, so for the operation system, but it's calculated only for usage of Eocortex. So that means if you want to use some more applications there, first of all, we don't recommend use another software on the same machine, but if you need that, you need to calculate more resources for that specific software, of course. But if you receive a calculation with the total disk capacity and the total RAM, that means this is recommended value for Windows with Eocortex. So you don't need to add more RAM here if it doesn't require it. Next question about the storage. So you asked about the different number of days. Right now, unfortunately, we have the calculation only for whole group of cameras. That's why if you need to calculate the total storage for different cameras, the best way is to calculate for the first portion of cameras, so 100 with 30 days, then get this recommended storage, then sum it with the second portion and so on. So like this way, server, 30 days, 24, and here 100 of cameras. We calculate see that we need about 105 terabytes. Then we need to calculate for the second portion, so 60 days for another 100 of cameras and so on. So we will get these. So we just need to summarize all these recommended storages for each group of cameras. So it's done. You need to do that more for the large systems of cameras. That's why right now it's not developed the way as you described when you put the storage period to each server, but I think that that's good feedback, and our product manager will also think about that to put this option in the calculator. Then total storage needed can be done like that, but what about the device config to use? You have can we calculate recording based on motion detection? You can do that, but you need to understand that the intensivity of the motion on every site is different. That's why it's important to know what will be the average time of the recording for your site. For example, I know that on this site, the motion is very intensive. That's why the recording will last about 18 hours during the day. So for another site, I know that there is no motion at all. So the number of hours will be about 4 and so on. So for some sites, it's better to know the approximate intensity of motion and put here the value of these hours just by at least approximate numbers. I also wanted to show you another important moment. So for example, if we have lots of cameras like with analytics, for example, license plate recognition, we will take a look on that. We see that we need to have, for 300 of cameras, we need to have 23 servers. And their calculation is equal for each machine. And we see that 23 machines with these characteristics. If we calculate the same number of cameras, but for the like unique visitor counting that requires the GPU, in this case, we calculate, we see that for this system, we need 28 servers, and the configuration of that servers will be different. So that's the first one, second, third, and so on. So as here we also distribute the load on the GPU, here you have the recommendations on the characteristics of the servers for each machine. So please pay attention on that. So this is just the first option for the first system. But you need to understand that facial recognition is a really requiring module. That's why it's showing us 28 machines. Next option, what if the camera resolution is absent in the calculator? For example, 20 megapixel. Good question. We developed the calculator recently to add more resolutions, but still some of them are missing. Let's discuss this situation. For example, if we have several cameras with 12 megapixel resolution, and we also need to use analytics there. For example, if we have 4 cameras with 12 megapixel resolution, then we use this way. So server, 4 cameras with the resolution like 6 megapixel, and we also want to use tracking module here. So we use tracking module. So for 4 cameras, tracking module, and also another group of cameras, 4 cameras with same 6 megapixel, but without analysis, because the load from the tracking module will be for 4 channels, and the load on the bandwidth and so on from the 12 megapixel will be for it will be the same as 8 channels for the 6 megapixel. So you just twice the number of cameras and have the lower resolution. Next question. There is no option for module stream like 1, 2, or none. If there are no module to use, does the calculator take into account? So, for example, if we don't have an analytics at all, it doesn't matter which of the streams you will use. So it won't add the load from the analytics because you haven't enabled it, even motion detection. Then, can we place more graphical cards in servers for GPU support? Right now, yes, we added several GPUs on the same machine, up to 4 GPUs as far as I remember. But this function was already added and it will work, but it won't be calculated in the calculator right now. So if you need to calculate the characteristics of the server with the several GPUs, it's better to contact technical support or pre-sale team to get your own calculation. It will be pretty fast, and of course, as we added this function, in the future we will also get it in the calculator as well. Then, why when using H.265 compression standard, the number of servers increased? Let's make an experiment, because if we don't have an analytics, then the H.265 is more efficient. Let's check it. For example, we have 400 of cameras with H.264 resolution with 6 megapixel resolution. So we have 3 servers with i9 processor so 3 servers with i9. Then let's take a look if we select H.265 for the same number of cameras and resolution. We calculate, and we see that for the same number of cameras, for the same resolution, we need 2 servers with with i9 processor, with the same processor, let's be honest. So for the just recording, H.265 is more effective. But if we also use the analytics on the H.265, then it's not so effective, and the number of servers, yes, will be increased. So that's why I recommend you not to use H.265 for analysis. So for example, if you need, you can set H.265 for the mainstream and H.264 for the alternate stream. In this way, it will be most effective way. I really like that you are sending more and more questions. Yeah, why not? Yes, so it's better to use alternate stream for the analysis if that's a simple modules like tracking or motion detection, heat map, and so on. If you want to use facial recognition, license plate recognition, then it's just better to use the H.264 codec if you want to reduce the load on the server. Next, when we calculate, if we don't select motion detection and give a calculation to a client, but as the ST version supports, if he uses motion detection later, do we get too much risk? Or shall we always select motion detection while calculating some of other free modules, PTZ, audio, etc.? Nice question. Thanks for that, because that's really a tricky thing during the calculations, because you provide the client for example, with the Ultra license, and he says that I don't want to use the analytics, I just want to record the videos. You create the calculation without any analytics, and afterwards he says that why not, I will enable hot head detection or fire and smoke detection for hundreds of cameras, and then the server will be just overloaded, because the difference between just recording and analytics, just several channels, is enormous. So that's why it's better to be honest with the client. That's my let's say that's my advice for you, to be honest with the customer. For example, we are now calculating the hardware without any analytics. If you want to use analytics in the future, let's imagine about this right now to get the absolutely right configuration. So you will be you will have some extra power to use that. Or otherwise, another option is to buy extra servers. So for example, he bought some, sorry for the notifications. So for example, you bought already one server and you was planning to use it only for the archive recording, and then you wanted to add some analytics, then you need to just buy another server and distribute the cameras between two servers, and then you'll have some power to use the analytics. But yeah, answering your question, it's better to just discuss it before the calculation was done. So, okay, this is the calculation without analytics. This is the calculation with the analytics. So you can see that they are different, and if you need, you will require more power. What about the licenses on the two servers? Right now, we are developing a floating licensing scheme. It will be available pretty soon, and it will allow you to distribute the licenses between several servers. For example, you bought a USB dongle, you connected it to one server, and then you want to for example, you bought 100 Ultra licenses and haven't enabled the analytics, and then you buy more servers, distribute the same 100 of licenses between these machines, and you can have the ability to work with these modules. But right now, you will need to add more licenses, so buy extra keys. But anyway, we are very flexible, so you can discuss with your manager to split the licenses between the servers. Next question. Yes, if the client says we don't need recording, so first, another question. If I don't use analytic function, can I not use the graphic card on the server? Yes, you may notice that in most server calculations, we don't have any GPUs, or if we have, that's pretty not powerful GPUs. That's just GeForce 210 and so on. So in most cases, it's better to have at least not a very powerful, but still a GPU for some operations. But in most cases, GPU is more important for the analytics like facial recognition, complete unique visitor counting, and also for the clients. So for the server, GPU is not so important as for them. Next question. If the client says we don't need recording, we will do only viewing, how do you calculate it for recording servers? So anyway, the server is doing, let's say, three tasks. First one, it's recording the archive. Second one, it's doing the analytics if it's required. And third one, it's managing the video streams to being sent to the clients. and re-encode the videos to the mobile applications and so on. So if you don't need to record the archive, you just don't select the number of days. So for example, you put here a number of days 0, here also 0. So okay, 1 day with 1 hour, that's the minimum. So you are not calculating the storage, but still the load on the server will be pretty the same, because the server will be managing the streams. For example, let's imagine the situation when you have 100 of clients that are connected at the same time. That will be also a load on the server to manage all these connections. That's why we are calculating the load on the server. Whew. So if you have more questions, I think we can have about 5 minutes more on that, discuss the questions. And by the way, I wanted to show you one thing about the bottom in the client application. So let's select the license plate recognition camera. And yes, when we open the license plate recognition camera on the full screen, as far as you remember, we put here user actions. They are available here, so we can click on it. So it's not available on the plan, but it's available in the camera itself. So we can select one of these tasks like output. And then as we added also confirmation of this action, we need to click on this blue button. So yeah, task sent to server output. So this is how it looks. It will be available from here and also from the mobile application. Let's take a look. I think we'll be able to see that also there. Do you see the screen right now? Is it moving now? Now, yes. Okay, then let's take a look once again on the application. So here, let's select the, oh, for God's sake. Let's select the landscape mode to the Eocortex application. And here, let's select the LPR camera. So for some reason, it's not available right now on this camera. Maybe that's because I haven't restarted the application. But here, this button will be available. So let's close the app, go to home, open the app once again. So once again, when we just start the application, we have only the demo access, but we can enable the second system. Here, we select it. LPR. And yes, here is the user action. We click on it. We select one of these actions like output. We confirm it, we click run. And yes, task sent to server output. So this is how it looks on the client application also. I haven't shown you the same with the client application on the desktop. I will show it right now. So Yes, LPR camera. Do you see it right now? Nice. So here we have these tasks. So these two, 1, 2, 3, and output. If we select output, we need also to confirm it. So click on this blue button, and we see that task was sent to the server. So this is what we configured. It's not on the plan, but on the camera itself. Yes, as I said, 5 more minutes for the questions, and we have more questions. What if the first stream resolution is lower than the second stream? The calculation seems to be taking the biggest resolution to calculate. Sometimes the client prefer watching higher resolution, but record smaller resolution. That's possible. You can just set the 8 megapixel for the mainstream, VGA for the alternate, and then in the configurator, you will be able to select which of the streams will go to the configurator, which will go not to the configurator, but to the recordings. And also, if we're speaking about the storage calculation, let's check it. So right now we have 1 and 4 terabytes. Now let's change. Even more, 1 and 8. So yes, in the calculation, it will use the highest resolution that you put. Yeah, that's the difference, because it has H.265 and this H.264. So in this case, if your client wants to record the lower resolution, then you need to create extra calculation. For example, number streams 1 with the lower resolution, get the calculation for the storage, and then get the calculation for the server and combine them. So that's I think unique request. So that's not so bad to do it this way, because usually the mainstream is being used. Next question. If I use failover function, how many number of license I have to buy? Example, I have 50 cameras. How many ultra license I have to buy? Good question. So first of all, if you are using the failover option, you need to have several servers. So because you need to have, for example, 2 machines to belay each other from the fail. So in this case, if you have 50 channels with Ultra, you need to buy 50 channels, 25 for one server, 25 for another, and the first server will be recording 25 server, and it has to have more power to be able to take 25 cameras more from the second one. And the second server, again, he is recording his 25 cameras, and he must have enough power to take another 25 cameras. So in this case, you just need to have 20 ultra licenses. For ST, for example, you need to have 50 ST licenses plus 50 failover modules. Oh, sorry about the personal monitoring once again. Yes, let's go to it right now. So about the personal monitoring. Let me find a sample for that. Yes, for example, this one. Let's select just the sample of the camera as an example. So we select the camera, enable the motion detection, and then select the personal activity monitoring module. Here, we can set several zones. For example, zone 1 will be there. Zone 2 will be here. Zone 3 here. We can set the inactive time, for example, 30 seconds. So if there won't be any action for 30 seconds, we will receive a notification from that. Then let's save the changes. While we're waiting, let's answer another questions. Okay, but when the guard on the control room wants to open or close different ports, he has a separate screen with the plans on it, and so he can control the whole ground plan of the site, and he can open, close with the different gates. Yeah, I get your feedback on that, and I think that we will discuss that also with the product manager, so to put it also on the plans, so it will be, for example, linked to some cameras. But if you need this right now, not in the future, you can discuss that with your manager, so you can get it in the special version for your project in the future, but earlier than it will get will be available in the release. So let's take a look on the personal monitoring. The notification snapshot of personal monitoring system does not show which zone was inactive. Yes, it doesn't show it, but you can set the name for each zone, and you can see it in the text way. For example, zone 1 was inactive, and so on. And this is how it looks in the real time. So right now, low activity on every zone, and if the activity will be triggered, like in that area, active zone, active zone. So this is how you see the changes of the zone. And the same way for the events. So for example, if we don't know which of the zones was inactive, we can just read it. For example, zone 1 was inactive. Yeah, for example, right here, zone 1, zone 3, zone 2, and so on. And by clicking it in the client, you will also see which of the zones are triggering this alarm. But in the notifications, you're right, we will be able only to read this. Another question for the report. So we select the time, the cameras. As I just enabled the module, it's not really informative. So right now we can see the intensity of the motion activity for each zone, for each time. So we see that right now it's 2, so that's the medium activity. So we can see it for a larger time, so it will be like a graph. So we can understand what was the movement during the day, what was the activity during the day. Yes, you're welcome. And when Another question on plan, when an event alarm came, it alerts with color changing. Right now, unfortunately, no, on the plan there are no notifications, but I think that it's on the roadmap, so it will be done also for some cameras. So for example, right now the interactive search can show you which of the camera on the plan triggered this person, but then I think also other notifications will be there too. Okay, you're welcome once again, and I think that webinar took 1.5. So I think that's enough for today. But yeah, let's do more questions if you have. We can answer them. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, that's really nice to hear your positive feedback. That was a pleasure for me also to give you more info. So yes, also you will get all the recordings, so they will be downloadable. You'll be able to watch them afterwards. Also, then you will get certification, so there will be some kind of a test, so you will be able to fill the form, and afterwards you will get a certificate that you are educated to work is Eocortex, and yes, that you can provide your support. But even anyway, you will get support from us, so never gonna give you up, let you down, and so on. So you're welcome. Yeah, once again. So thanks for your attention, for your time. Stay safe. And as I said, a little bit later, you will receive all the recordings. So once again, thank you all. Bye-bye.